asking about, okay, because we know on some reservations, when I visit some reservations, especially the ones like in that was New Mexico, they didn't pay electricity. They have free electricity, and so they was wondering, like on the Big Mama system, are
All
we gonna have
utilities is prepaid. You don't pay for utilities. That's governmental responsibility.
right? Hey, we really don't. You really can't pay for the utilities now. You think you paying for utilities with fiat? You crazy? Look, it's a way you can write that off with a red ink pen. Like I saw some people doing it. I didn't go into it too much, but I remember it. But
That's a
I don't
trap, though.
paying. We only supposed to be
Listen,
paying
listen.
water
That's
and electric.
look.
Do it, bro.
It's called redeem it for value, accept it for value. With the red ink, but that's a trap.
How did that? Okay, go into the free electricity and how that works. All it together for us. Go ahead, bro.
Utilities is a responsibility of the government. Big Mama Bank pay all of the government's expenses. That's why everybody contributes to Big Mama Bank voluntarily. Nothing was forced. All of the Big Mamas joined together. There's 12 Big Mamas around the world that, and then they got lesser Big Mamas under them. They go down in series of 12 in the pyramid formation, but the 13th seat at the top is reserved for one with a very specific DNA coding on their genetics. The new system will only activate under the codes that's on the genetics of the correct heir. This takes you back to your Lack Z gene, your Henrietta Lack crisis in the medical industry of America, and the immortality and the proper owners of the planet. No man owns Earth. Earth is owned by the women. And this was determined because the same mitochondria in the woman is also in the soil of the earth. No cell can function without mitochondria. You cannot get it from your father line. You can only get it from your mother line. This is why property rights is heritable only through the mother line, because it's through the mother line that you can take a soil sample and match it to her DNA and know exactly that she was from Mississippi clay dirt walking in the age of Atlantis 287 million years ago, when she decided to take form on her own. But we don't want to talk about that because we still caught up in Anunnaki wars. Before Anunnaki wars, Big Mama was running the show. This was the place that the other people referred to as heaven. But you couldn't get in with a phallus until the gender contract was created. The gender contract was created because one of the Anunnaki was exiled for challenging his brother or his brother took the throne from him. Right? So when he didn't have nowhere to go, they have to create now what's called a gender contract. That we can't take you. Well, this is my situation. And then they found out he was 100% truthful, of good character and good standing, so they made a concession. They didn't know he was going to come with a tailwind of ragtag assholes. And by the time they figured it out, they created the defender of the earth, a parthogenic male child, as the firstborn of the earthborn, incarnated wisdom. So when we looking at the old systems, new systems, we going back to the first system. Everybody been telling us the whole time that the first gonna be made last and the last gonna be made first. But nobody's telling us why. Because the ones that's at the last place at the close of the age is the firstborn of the earthborn. And they are the ones responsible to shift the system to a functional and operational system at the conclusion of the war. The war was 6,000 years long. Years didn't exist in Atlantis because time didn't exist. So the whole time data is distorted because the linear time had to be inserted in order to cap off the war. If the war got a beginning and it got an ending, and both of them is a definite point between beginning and end, alpha to omega. Omega is not the last. Omega is the first. Alpha is the last. But we got it all twisted. We think when they say from alpha to omega, that alpha is the beginning. No, omega is the beginning. And if you don't believe me, go find one of them omega fraternities and say, is omega the beginning or is alpha the beginning? And they're going to look at you in utter shock because they told in secret and they ain't supposed to tell nobody. But if you ask somebody in good faith and goodness and truth and you got the right blood, they got to tell you the truth. So the Omicron, which is the alpha, came out of omega.
Go ahead.
So now you talking about the creation of your Aleph in Arabic, in Hebrew is Aleph, right? So now this is creating an English variant, took from the Greek alphabet, and it made the letter A. The letter A is a pyramid with the bottom pushed halfway to the top. What do that mean?
Right.
Half cocked. These ones, because when you put the bottom back on it, it ain't alpha no more. You know what it is? It's delta now.
Yeah. You crack heads. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, all these is codes. These the light codes that's been trapping us mentally for thousands of years. That's why I had to go through my whole life miserable and suffering, and people thinking that I was a totally babbling idiot because they couldn't understand the shit that was coming out of my mouth. So I had to stop talking for a period of time. This is the same stuff I was telling my sister, my mom and them when I was 2 years old. And they was like, what is this boy talking about? Then they had to take me to my big mama. Big mama, what is he talking about? And she said, baby, know exactly what he's talking about. I'm 2 years old. Telling them how we being deceived. My mama told me when I was about 3. She started telling me on a regular basis, baby, you can't tell people everything you thinking because they're going to think you crazy, put you in a mental institution and dope you up and make you to a vegetable. And I knew what a vegetable was from watching the TV. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never knew what she was talking about until I got grown. But I ended up seeing the dude on the comatose state, and I heard him on the TV show say he a vegetable, and it made it click, and I wasn't even for it. I really shut down then. I really got to turn this shit down. And then I started watching everybody saying, how can I act like I'm one of them? I didn't even know how to act like I was regular. I used to levitate when I was a baby, but don't nobody remember it now. Or at least they say they don't. Because don't nobody want to be
crazy.
Looked at. Yeah. Oh, you just co-signing that bullshit. So now they be like, it sounds like something that we would have been laughing at, but I don't remember. Yeah, you don't remember, but you looking at it in your brain because I'm looking at you looking at the actual event in your brain because we was connected at the moment that it happened.
Hey, this another quick. Hey, Roy, I got another serious question for you because everybody asking this question. I got it written down. They saying that, okay, the immigrants and people was mad. I know y'all was mad about the pictures and the Big Mama's playing. I'm gonna put more Nubian pictures in there next time. I really let the AI generated that thing based on like I haven't put the plans in there, but I let them generate the pictures. And I didn't think about it, but there are people that like the pictures, and they saying the $5 Indians and the $3 Indians on there, and even a little bit, a couple 50-cent Indians. They ain't like the 50-cent Indians neither. But this is the thing I'm making about the immigrants. Now we notice they're bringing a whole bunch of immigrants over. Now, how's the land gonna be distributed once this government gone and they got the states now? They got the Georgia, And we didn't have it like that. We had territories based on tribal territories. So how's the land gonna be divided? Is people gonna get there? Because people thinking that, oh, once Big Mama take over, Big Mama gonna give everybody a house, and Big Mama gonna give everybody some land and 40 acres in the mule. Is Big Mama
They're
gonna
not
get
too
there?
far off. They're not too far off.
Go ahead.
But
Break
but it ain't like, for instance, cities in the inner city. Whoever is the godmother, godfather of the city, the mayor is supposed to be the big mama of the town. And Chicago got aldermen, but some town got city councilmen, right? And they supposed to represent the neighborhood. Them was all women's positions under the tribes. The politics was left to the women because there's a lot of arguing that goes on, and men arguing tends to lead to war instead of solution. But two women arguing will come up with a solution before they ever get to the war part. So in the cities, it's going to be different. But the people that live in the city are going to be tied to the people in the country by family heritable land rights. And all of your family not going to look like you. Keanu Reeves might be young Elder's cousin and he don't even know it yet. With motherland blood.
Because he a Black Irish. Yeah, that's gonna be true, Roy. Because my grandma is Black Irish. My granddad is mama. She a Black Irish.
Look, my great grandfather that raped my great grandmama was an Irishman.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, same
His
thing.
brother has a park named after him in Macomb, Mississippi, not too far from it. It's called Percy Quinn Park.
Uh-huh.
The Quinn's side of the family is both pale-faced and red hybrids.
That's what my granddad and them is. Yep, my dad.
Okay, now, if anybody can look up Percy Quinn Park, that's the dude that raped my grandmama and got her pregnant is his brother.
Go ahead.
He Irish.
Go ahead.
Now, on my grandfather Hezzy's side, he don't have Irish blood. This is my grandmama's husband. That's my mama's daddy.
Yeah.
He comes from the French Creole, them Algonquin long-faced chiefs with that wavy curly hair that be slicked back.
Yeah.
Right? That's his heritage. They married in with the French.
Yeah.
But the French, they was already there before the French came. Them people that they call in Creole culture goes back long before Columbus ever came over here.
Right.
Most of us on the land, from the land, have no clue that all immigrants can welcome to come to the Americas, but it was one caveat. You have to come through Port Nola.
Go ahead.
If you don't come through Port Nola, them tribes, this is why Sitting Bull had to take that public lashing from Tupac Amaru, because he didn't do what he supposed to did. When he recognized the traders on the land, he didn't sound the alarm and we got overrun.
Damn.
Had he done that, they would have never made it past the Louisiana. They would have never made it to the Louisiana Purchase. It would have never been no bloody run in Detroit. And the only thing we would have been having to protect from the French would have been the islands, specifically Haiti.
Okay.
Or Haiti. Them people been there so long that if you dig down deep enough, you can match the strata to the numbers of hundreds of years. And I guarantee you go down 1,000 years under one of them mountains and find bones of people that was living in Haiti that matched the blood of some of them people walking around today. Right? But they don't want to do the motherland research. They only want to go with the fatherland because the fatherland can be cut off anytime the mother pick another man to have a baby with.
Hey, I
don't understand.
Hey, Jet Jones, I got something coming out on the tribes. A correction on that tribe. It's not the Texas tribe. It is a Texas tribe that's similar to that name, but I found that tribe is down in South America. I'm gonna get back more with you on that, Jones.
The Arawak's point of origin is the Congo basin of South America called the Amazon basin.
Okay.
When you look at a lot of the bush people in the Amazon with the gold skin and the black straight hair, because they was marrying people from China.
Okay.
So now the blood is an admixed of Asian and organic. Negrito is the genetic classification that they gave us in science. So if you want to find us in science and you don't want to look under Negro, and you don't want to look under colored African America, the scientific reference to the people that's organic to the both North and South and Central America, they called us Negrito. It's the same mother line as the people from Japan, the people from India, original people. They all trace back to people from Australia and the Tonga, Samoan Islands. They all trace back on the mother line as Negrito. But you have different settlers coming in on the father line. So now you have multiple Y chromosome derivatives. See, but the mother line you can't conceal. You can only conceal the father line, and that's why the line say it's mama's baby, but daddy's maybe. The woman genetically in her uterus, you can fertilize an egg. She can go into the queen's chamber of her brain where she stored genetic information from everybody she ever been with, and she can make a composite child in her womb using your sperm as the catalyst. She built this child subconsciously because we don't do it consciously no more. And now this girl can test everybody that she ever slept with and she won't be able to find the father. She just created a whole new Y chromosome bloodline by patching together all of the different bloodlines that she ever slept with.
Doc talk about that too. Doc talk about that. People don't know about how powerful DNA is.
Yeah. But even typing, right? Next time we come on, bring this book and pull this book out. So next time I come on with you, I can show you the book. But blood typing can trace you back to a single square block of area in any land. That was in the 40s and the 30s. DNA is supposed to be more accurate than that. It's not. Because the way that they was using to trace you by the typing, it also goes into changes in diet that took place from where you originate from. They can tell you which land your bloodline settled on before it got to you based on the changing in the type and the rate of change that it take. And then they have markers, what they used to like. Type A might have 15 letters behind it. Right? But see, that was before they understood about the genome and decoding the genome. Now the genome took all of that string behind the A on the blood type and then they put it into one letter. And they supposed to have all that data under that one letter, but they don't put it all in there. This is why DNA analysis is not accurate as it should be. But all that's going to be corrected. But they've been using it to usurp us. They've been using it to oppress us. Everything has been designed to oppress us, no matter how harmless it may seem. The dog pound has been used to oppress us, right? It no matter what, you can't, the church is supposed to be the most benevolent thing to people. But that's because they don't want you to know the history of the church. They only want you to know what the preacher tell you on Sunday.
Right.
Right? When you know the history of the church, you're like, wait a minute. This is a military contingent called priests that's operating in a spiritual warfare on the behalf of somebody that's not us.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever this Yahweh character is that they represent, and whoever his son is that the Allah people represent,
Right.
and whoever his brother is that these sinners represent, right? And whoever Yahweh, whoever believe in him, they the ones who give you the false promise of an eternal life when you are already an eternal being. Nobody has to promise you that. You just have to come to terms with death.
Right.
Soon as you come to terms with death, you can talk to, in your DNA, you got a direct hotline to any ancestor that's on your DNA, because that's still you in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Hey, I
So
gotta
they
go.
don't want you to know that. That's part of eternal life.
Right. Man, we in the think tank. I got a couple more questions for you, man, because people want to know this one. I took all day to write them down because they was like, "Oh man, I want to know this about
Go ahead.
now
Go ahead. Just ask the question now that we here.
the jobs system and the system of way we get paid. We get paid every 2 weeks. I remember somebody was saying in ancient Kemet, somebody complained about it, and then they started paying everybody every week. Now, when we transition over to the new Big Mama's new currency, you was talking about a brick. And but before we talk about the brick, I'm gonna come back and ask about the brick. But I want to ask you about the doula centers and the medical. We already talked about the doula centers before, right? Now the
Mm-hmm.
doula centers, because I listened to Trump now and saw how they was talking about birth control and controlling the birth and this and that. How would the Big Mama's doula centers play a part in the bringing forth for the new generation? Because you go in this a little bit on that, touch on that. Go ahead.
Okay. So right now you have a lot of doulas that's starting to reclaim the practice of being a doula. This is the history or the origin of your medical community, your health practitioners. If you go back to Credo Mutwa, he tell you that it was a group of women who communicated with the different plants that gave us our herbalists. These women was before gender, right? They parthogenically reproduced because there was no gender. There was no polarity to the birthing process. It was on a singularity frequency. There was no opposite shit because there's no gender. When you hear the hermetic laws, the 7 hermetic laws or principles, the law of opposites, the law of gender, the law of frequency, the law of vibration, all of these are contingent on separation from the singularity, right? Before they start coaching the children to be this elemental P community, right? Prior to that, only certain people would be born with both genders embodied in one person, and the gender that they physically represent be suppressed over the gender that they actually are. You call them today homosexuals. But it wasn't a sexual thing. They wasn't here trying to have sex. They didn't come. They was called two gender people, and they was a different group of human than the rest of us. But when they found out that they can use the priesthood to convert children to an alternative lifestyle, now you get the debauchery in the age of Noah, right? They identify when that was introduced to humans. Humans in their natural tribal state without interfering from any colonizers, don't produce male homosexuals. They have to be some kind of way indoctrinated with one of the romance or Roman cultural derivatives in order for the women to even consider giving birth to a man who's not naturally supposed to be two gender, to give him feminine tendencies. This is taught in early childhood, and except for the ones that was sacred and they was two gender people. Sometimes they was born hermaphrodites or hermaphrodites, but that was rare. They normally look like one gender, but they got the spirit of both, which means they got two brains, a fully functional masculine brain, a fully functional feminine brain. And the artistic expression was more pleasing to behold than the linear logic. So the artistic expression was always celebrated coming from the two gender people. And they used that and they weaponized it and turned it into a whole agenda of conversion of males to the alternate gender in order to rid the world of warriors. That was Yahweh's promise, that he would rid the world of warriors once it was totally under his control. But his method to rid the world of warriors that was rejected during the time of Noah, when you go back to the Anunnaki tablets, they using that as a means of birth control. To promote the males to have sex with males, they cannot reproduce. And now that you've convinced the woman to no longer reproduce through parthenogenesis, you promote the woman to sleep with the woman because they can't reproduce. That was all Enlil's design, or Yahweh's design, right? So when we come into modern times, we realize all of these things that they've been using that's supposed to be for benevolent purpose was weaponized for nefarious means. Remember, the war in heaven landed on earth. And they never told us the war ended.
Hey, that's facts, bro. Revelations chapter 12:7.
They say, and Michael and his angels
Yeah.
fought with Lord Set and his angels, or Satan, is Lord Set. And Michael and his angels, who okay, now we talking specifically Enki's son, Marduk, who grabbed him by his crackhead neck and slapped him off of Nibiru down to the earth.
Right.
Through a portal.
Right.
It was a fist fight between a uncle and a nephew.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the details about the fight like I was there, but I know who can. And that's Malachi York. And he's going to eventually tell about the war in heaven, how Inanna was attacked by her brother Enlil, who wanted to claim Earth above her when she had mitochondrial rights to tie her to the Earth. He didn't like it. And she told him to give her a baby. Now we're getting into the details of the war in heaven. Enki, which they call him the dragon in Revelations, said that he was waiting to receive the child, the male child, from the woman. Right? All of this is all taking place.
He's talking over here. He's talking over his now.
All this stuff taking place in Revelations about the family conflict on Nibiru.
Right.
They, or as they say in the Orianos, the heavens. Orion, we talking about the story of Osiris being slain by his brother Set, who became, he was in Set, became Satan, and his brother, the Osirian, or the heavenly one, whose body was designed to match on the ground the stars in the sky of the Orion constellation. Right? And it was the sun who's represented as Heru, who is the black dog, which is actually on the chessboard a knight. And he was on the heels of the father learning how to be a great man, the green man, the one who loves to win, or he loves to go, the green light, Sufi order. I'm just backtracking the linguistics along the storyline. So when the green one manifests, he steps forth out of the heart chakra of the mother to become David, the beloved David, and she raises him up to become Solomon, or the soul man walking, Solomon, the wise one, and wisdom is justified of her children. And this why Ma, or Mama, is the master masons, the master of all masons, and she's being tested for her Isis seat as Het Heru, the heiress to the throne, by the current Big Mama, right? And the only way she can prove it is she has to, without the aid of the man, mold a man without a man's guidance as the key. In other words, raise your child up to be God-like, and he will take God form as an adult. But if you raise him to be manly, then when he take human adult form, he will be man-like, right? And if you convince him to be man-like, he's gonna aspire to be mankind, a kind of a man. Right? This is called de-evolution. Once he accepts himself as a kind of a man, now he's just a shell of himself. Right? That means he no longer has a soul. Because in order to be the true self, you can't be mankind, just the shell. You have to embody the soul. Right? But instead of dressing from the ground up, you dress from the top down. And the wisdom of the mother falls on the heads of the babe as she speaks. And they say she comes to town with a monkey on her back. And everybody